You ever scroll past the guy with a ridiculously attractive girl who's clearly out of his league and then think to yourself, really? Him? He's not tall, not ripped, and he doesn't even dress cool. Looks like the kind of guy that watches the History Channel for fun. Just boring. But she's really into him. Like, really into him. And that leaves you wondering, why him? Why the boring guy? Before we answer that, I want you to ask yourself the following questions. Do you cancel plans and feel relieved instead of feeling guilty? Do you actually read articles instead of just reposting the headlines of those articles? Do you show up on time even when no one else does? Do you by chance find loud parties exhausting but find grocery runs oddly peaceful? And lastly, this one might sting a bit, do you not ghost anybody but find yourself getting ghosted relatively often? If you tick all of these boxes, then the chances are you're probably one of the boring guys. The good news? Science has your back. Boring is totally the new sexy. So if you've ever felt like the world skips over men like yourself, then stay with me here. Because by the end of this video, you might just stop calling yourself boring and start calling yourself rare. So here's where the disconnect lies, fellas. Social media and modern dating trends tell you that women want Ferraris, forearm tattoos, and mysterious vibes. And here comes the reality check. 63% of women in their mid-20s say that the hottest trait in a guy is makes my life easier and not keeps me guessing. Right now, most people spend at least 7 hours a day online. In the online world, charisma is currency. You've got to be ironic, gotta be bold, slightly toxic even. Otherwise, you're just invisible. So it's really no surprise that most guys assume dating works in the same way. You were told things like, girls want the bad boy. Let's take a look at a rather classic cool guy lineup for this example. We have characters like Joe from the TV series titled You, Terrifying, Christian Grey from 50 Shades, like trauma in a suit, and Nate from Euphoria, which is like a red flag turned varsity. So somewhere along the way, you probably thought something like, okay, I need to be mysterious, a little bit emotionally unavailable, maybe even a little dangerous in order to get the girl. But here's the kicker. Those stories end at the climax. Great for drama, terrible for peace and love. Here's another reality check for you to behold. 70% of women report feeling more emotionally satisfied in relationships where the man initiates things like regular, calm communication. In other words, calm, consistent, or boring. Let's go ahead and define boring with just 3 points. No games, always shows up, doesn't need to be the center of attention. Sounds pretty simple, right? However, in a world that is totally addicted to overstimulation, that kind of chill feels relatively rare these days. Here's something else to think about when it comes to this topic as well. Women today are more educated, busier, and more burned out than ever. You know what she doesn't want to add to that equation? A man who feels like another full-time job. Chaos and drama? Fun in the early 20s, to be honest, but by 28, 32, stability starts to feel like a luxury. She wants someone who remembers her cat's name, shows up when he says he will show up, texts back without a 5-hour mystery window. She wants to rest. And, well, you, being the boring guy, kind of look like a comfortable couch after a long, difficult day. Being her peace is really the new sexy. In psychology, this phenomenon is known as the dual mating strategy. We evolved to seek different partners for different needs. One for short-term excitement, another for long-term security. In your 20s, thrills can feel like connection. However, as your life continues to get louder, the body stops chasing adrenaline and your body and mind both start seeking shelter. That's where the boring guys like you come in. Okay, so what about chemistry when it comes to love? You know, passion, spark? You're probably thinking, no one wants to live a life with someone who's safe but dull. Here's what's rather funny about that. The boring guy isn't actually dull. He just doesn't perform. He's not trying to impress anybody or impress the girl with his car or charm or with his trauma. Instead, he is grounded. He listens more than he talks. He doesn't need to dominate the room to feel valuable. All of that is actually emotional maturity. Sometimes us humans confuse calmness for boring, but in reality, it's growth and maturity. Women tend to look for boring guys when excitement no longer means stability. After things like heartbreaks, chaos, and of course her narcissistic ex, she eventually stops chasing potential and starts choosing presence over potential. She wants someone who lights up her life quietly every single day, not lighting up the room for a single night. And the crazy part about all this? Once she sees it, she never unsees it. You stop becoming the backup plan. You instead become the blueprint. What's even crazier about this is most boring guys don't even know that they're in the winning situation. However, when it finally clicks, when they stop trying to impress and just try to be themselves, maybe no longer faking a personality for clout or for attention, that is when it happens. Because eventually, the girl who is chasing the chaos, that same girl starts to crave the calm. And it just so happens to be that the calm looks a lot like, well, it looks a lot like you. So don't change. You are not boring. You're built for stability. And stability, as the name suggests, is what actually lasts. So hey, if you've ever felt too boring to be chosen, then give this video a like, share this with a friend who needs to hear it, and better yet, send it to your future wife maybe. Thanks for watching.